Hello everyone. Thank you for watching. Before I begin this video, I just want to get something off my chest. This week, our beloved little dog, Yoda, Admiral Yoda, which some of you guys who have been with this channel for a long time have heard of Admiral Yoda. He passed away after 21 years. And it's rare that dogs live that long, but in small breeds, not as rare. It's rarer for larger breeds to live that long. But Yoda was a small breed, and well, it was time for him to go. And you know how when you love an animal and you know that the time has come, you know that you don't want the animal to suffer, and it's time, right? But it's still sad. It's still just tough. And Julie is also heartbroken. I mean, Yoda spent most of his life with Julie. And this past year, I worked a lot with Yoda because his health was getting worse this past year. And she has her own health issues to deal with. So, but still, it's been really hard on the both of us. And there's really an emptiness in the house with his passing, for sure. So as you can imagine, I stopped all content, all work, and I was with him on his final day, the whole day until he passed. And then the day after that, I didn't feel like doing anything, so I didn't. And well, now I'm starting to, although still sad, but I'm starting to feel the urge to do something for the channel, for my Patreon, to play some games. This is the hobby that I love, and so it does help me to get my mind into the game space again. Goodbye, little Yoda. Thanks for all the good times. So on a bit of a cheerier note, today I would like to talk about a new game by Snarling Badger Studios. Now, as I was on my computer today, just getting ready to work, I work very early these days between the two studios, and well, a video popped up, and lo and behold, it was Adam Loper from Tabletop Minions. We would know him as Uncle Adam in the YouTube space. And he announced Rain and Iron. So as I was listening to his video and he was describing the product, I heard demons, robots, fighting in an Earth with no humans, and I said, I gotta check that out. So I went ahead and bought my copy of Rain and Irons, and I started skimming through the rules. Now in this video, we're not gonna go over rules or play the game just yet. There will be videos coming on Rain and Iron, and I'm also gonna be playing Death Wizards again. We gotta continue with the story of Mariska, the protege of Radagast, who I played earlier. There's like 11 games of Death Wizards. One of the longest little mini campaigns or series that I've played on this channel, solo. It is the longest. So, and I have a couple of thoughts on Snarling Badger Studios, which I'm going to talk about in this video. And, well, so what can I say in terms of artwork? Very nice artwork, gritty, kind of that same style that you see in Rain and Hell. A very nice cover art as well for the book. And you get a little scenario with it when you purchase it. When I purchased it from Wargames Vault, a little scenario came with the game as well. So yeah, it's good stuff, and it's inexpensive. You know, it really is an inexpensive game for what you get. So all good things. One of the things that I did is I printed out the rules summary. Now, one nice thing about Snarling Badger Studios, they have very good, concise rule summaries, or QRS. And basically, from what I can see, I could probably play the game with just this rule summary. Now, obviously, I'm going to read the rules and go through them in depth so that I can understand the game. But this rule summary is great. It's really concise, really good. I will also, I don't know if Vince Venturella has put anything on his channel about the game. I'm sure he will, because, or maybe he has already, a little playthrough of the game. He has very good playthroughs on all the Snarling Badger Studio games. Very helpful to get you to understand the game right away. And their games are simple. For the most part, their games are very simple. You can pick them up pretty quickly. And I know Julie and I love Rain in Hell. That is still my favorite game. Now, you guys will then say, but what about Death Wizards? Hold on. We'll get to that in a minute. I'll tell you why Rain in Hell is still my favorite game, despite the fact that I do love Death Wizards, and I will continue to play Death Wizards. There is something about Rain in Hell that really scratches an itch that I have. So, I know, it's a little weird. Sorry, but you get what I mean. In any case, so I have to go over but basically one of the interesting things is that while the game plays like Rain in Hell, you have a lot of the same philosophies for the demons, which is good because I really like the demon philosophies in Rain in Hell. The game feels like Rain in Hell. There's one fundamental difference, and that is that there's no soul mechanic, the story that the game takes place in. This is an Earth that the demons have returned to where there are no humans. So there's no souls to reap. Too bad for the demons, you know? And so now there's all these machines in Earth. So I'm not going to say anymore. You can pick up the game and learn more about the story and how they handle that soulless mechanic. I think it's interesting. They did a good job. As always, their games, they put pretty good thought into their games, and I'm going to try this out. And one of the another good thing about Snarling Badger Studios, and now we're moving into Snarling Badger Studios in general, these are games that you can play in many different ways, and I really like that about an indie game. These are just excellent games in that respect. All right, and of course, all of this is my opinion. I'm not endorsed in any way by Snarling Badger Studio. This is just what I feel about the games. Okay, basically, this is just the fact that I do really enjoy their games, and I think that these are games that are for people looking for something different in the indie space. Check out Snarling Badger Studios. They may have something you like. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's my disclaimer. Okay, now going back to Death Wizards and Rain in Hell. I think it depends on the day you ask me. Which is your favorite, Death Wizards or Rain in Hell? You know, today I'll say Rain in Hell, and tomorrow I'll say, well, maybe Death Wizard. But here's one reason why I think Rain in Hell is one of my favorite games. First, the rules, the solo rules in Rain in Hell are definitely simpler than the rules in Death Wizards. Oh, yes, they are. They're simpler in some respects. Another thing is that the theme of Rain in Hell, it takes place in a dark fantasy theme where I can make the theme as dark as I want. I can, from a terrain making perspective, Rain in Hell, I can unleash my imagination in any way I want. If I want to depict a region of hell that is frozen with like these hideous hands coming out of the ground, out of the snow, sure, I can do that. Frozen hands. That would actually look kind of cool. If I want to depict my area of hell with a starry background, with these floating islands with trees that are upside down, kind of this chaotic region, I can do that. Rain in Hell has inspired my imagination in ways that, in fact, in my magazine Scratch Builder Monthly, I have dedicated a couple of articles to Rain in Hell and to all the terrain that I make for Rain in Hell, because it really, really sparked my imagination. Very much the same way that Deep Wars did for me, the underwater environment. So, in that respect, Rain in Hell is my favorite game. Now, when it comes to rules, also the mechanics in Rain in Hell uh, are very simple to understand. In Death Wizards, the two-player mechanics are very simple. Julie and I grasp the game, no problem. Where I have a little bit of an issue with Death Wizards is in the solo mechanics, for me. Now, I understand why they designed the solo mechanics the way they did, but to me, it was a little bit too much. Now, I played 11 games of Death Wizards, and as I played the games, yes, the solo mechanic did become easier to grasp and easier to understand, and it went a little quicker. But here's the thing. Every hero has its own AI. And if you're playing on a table with multiple heroes, that's a lot of AIs to learn and to grasp. The Paladin has its own AI, the priest, the peasants. It's a lot. And that's one thing. And then especially the magic users, right? I understand why they did that, but it's a lot. And also the fact that every hero has its own activation order. So that's yet another thing that you have to keep track of. So I actually played a game of Death Wizards where I just played with one hero type, the warrior, and that was the only AI that I dealt with, and I played with like 4 or 5 warriors, and there was no order of activation, and it actually went a lot smoother. So for me, that was better. So that's why I think from a solo perspective, I prefer Rain in Hell. But when it comes to the and also the fact, that you have Hell, which is this fantastic dark fantasy realm that you can come up with whatever you want, whereas in Death Wizards it's still your typical medieval kind of village and graveyard and all this stuff. So from a terrain making perspective, definitely Rain in Hell really sparked my imagination. But I still love Death Wizards. One of the things that I love about Death Wizards is the fact that you can be a necromancer and have undead minions. I mean, how cool is that? And the campaign progression in Death Wizards is very good. I love the way they set up their campaign progression. Okay, so that's my take on those games. Space Station Zero is the third game that I enjoyed very much, and one of the refreshing things about Space Station Zero is that it's not all about killing things. You have puzzles, you have traps, you have an interesting theme and story to go with it. It's a space game, it's a sci-fi game. So Space Station Zero, in that order, it's Rain in Hell, Death Wizards, Space Station Zero in third order. Now, out of the micro games that Snarling Badger Studio publishes under their yearly publication, Snarl, definitely check that out. Snarl comes out, I believe it's every fall. Yes, I believe it's every fall, if I'm not mistaken, but it's once a year, and I can't wait for the next Snarl. And they give you, Snarl, they give you a little micro game, which is cool, a different little micro game so far every year, and then they give you supplements for the games that they already have. This year they had a new philosophy for demons in Rain and Hell, and then they also have something for Death Wizards. They had a couple of new things for Death Wizards. So I like the way they do that. They keep you waiting, but once it comes out, it's like, yes, you have some supplements for the games that they already have, and then you have a little new micro game. This year, it was the Great Goblin Argle Bargle. That's my favorite micro game out of the two that they have. They have Thanks for the Apocalypse. Tanks for the apocalypse. Not thanks, but tanks. I see what they did there. Um, and yeah, so that's also a very cool little micro game. But I think the Great Goblin Argle Bargle is my favorite because gotta love goblins. So in terms of the way they have their little publications set up, Snarl, and they give you something new every year, and they give you something for their existing games. I really like that, and I hope that they continue to do that because that's a really cool thing to add support to their existing games. And that's it. That's really all I have to say about Snarling Badger Studios. I'm keeping the Snarling Badger Studio playlist on my channel. I'm keeping all of the Death Wizards games. I'm doing a lot of culling and removing of old games, and I removed a ton of older playlists already. But those games are going to persist into 25, and I'm going to be adding new games and stuff. Okay, so 1 Hour War Games, Alternate History, that's coming as soon as things get a little warmer. And on my Patreon, Void Admiral, we're finishing up the mini campaign. So I'll have updates on all that on the channel. But Snarling Badger Studios, I totally recommend them. And if you're looking for something interesting, they do have a lot of different games that they're putting out. And so there'll be something for everyone, I suppose. What's your favorite game of Snarling Badger Studios? Let me know in the comments. I would like to know that. And yeah, see you very soon, guys. Thank you very much. And thank you for allowing me to talk about my little dog, Yoda. It has been a difficult couple of days for sure. Have a great one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.